Tekton company file, stolen company file. These are the ongoing reports to contain and archive what the agency has acquired from the company base Sigma. Our teams were alerted to its existence when reports of a lot of unusual bodies around an office building flagged the agency watch programs. Something had a grudge against the company and decided to kill everything living down to the last man, leaving bodies, a completed archive and tons of artifacts in their storage. Fortunately, the agency was able to capture and relocate everything that was discovered before the company sent reinforcements from other bases. Or worse, before the general public stumbled in and exposed everything inside to the world. One of the harder parts of this mission was twofold: relocating all the bodies and examining them, which is dangerous enough with unknown preternatural creatures, even if they are deceased. And then comes the most dangerous part, dealing with the artifacts that the company kept in Sigma's storage. Yes, we have their archives with matching files on each of the items, but there's no doubt that, like the agency, the company omits details from their files. So today's report is about an item that was used to actually power Sigma base, the heart of Tekton, a very dangerous artifact that has to be handled with care. Artifact IH-417, purpose, energy production, name, Heart of Tekton. Do you know the easiest way to get noticed by the public, or worse, the agency? It's unusually high energy usage. Our bases are usually set in urban environments, mainly for camouflage, because it's hard to locate a company base when it's disguised as any other Fortune 500 company. Except when they notice your building is using 20 times more energy than every other building around it. And when that happens, people get curious. First the public, thinking that there must be something wrong with the power grid, then the agency, who has programs seeded in all sorts of places. Programs whose only purpose is to pick up unusual things like this and send it back to the agency. Then you get a time of highly experienced agents blowing a hole through your floor and invading your bases, causing us to have to dump as much of our files as possible and remove all the artifacts in a time period less than 10 minutes. All the while fighting off very pissed off humans who just won't die. Sorry about that, letting frustrations get to me. I need to go on vacation soon. It's been a hard year for us. Anyways, back to where I was. Energy usage. And what we need to do as a company to, yes, reduce our emissions. Now, some people have suggested using green technology to implement the excess energy required for research, development and deconstruction and containment. That would mean buying a building, installing the wind turbines, solar panels and various other odds and ends. And all that does is get people curious why we need so much electricity, setting off the warning bells and ending once again with agents blowing a hole through our very nice skylights because they don't know how to properly die. See, full circle, and now I'm pissed off again. But there is a solution, and it's green. Well, sort of. Thermal energy, generated by one of our earlier acquisitions, one of the harder ones to get as well. Around 200, maybe 300 years ago in Greece, there was a nascent giant born in a volcano, the Santorini explosion. Something about the eruption, besides forming the island of Nea Kamenni, made an anomalous creature that didn't get a chance to do anything, because our predecessors were there to challenge it to a fight and killed it in combat. Named Tekton, according to our archive, it was around 100 to 200 feet tall and completely made out of never-cooling lava. It could take pieces of itself and fling them at its enemies and cause fires that can't be put out without some effort. Afterwards, it would create more lava out of nothing to refill the section it was thrown. Getting near it was dangerous as well, considering that even near regular volcanoes, things can just burst into flames from the intense heat. Now, if Tekton was allowed to be more active, Greece would have a distinctly different shape than it does today. That it was killed in battle is a point of pride according to our senior executives, even if they are vague on how they actually did it. The end result is what is important. Tekton's body was completely ripped apart in the aftermath. And to point out, each of the fragments are still constantly emitting high amounts of heat. They resemble lava rocks before they cool, only they never do. Also, bringing two pieces of Tekton together will cause the fragments to merge and increase the amount of heat possible. Tossing a fragment into an open flame will cause the piece to spawn a smaller version of Tekton, around 20 to 30 feet tall, and cause it to go on a rampage until the fire is put out. The flames of the copies of Tekton don't retain the eternal property that the original did. Using traditional fire suppression techniques are enough to banish the copy, turning it back into fragments which can then be recovered. Something about the spawned copies makes them easy to point at things the company doesn't like and easier to contain as compared to the original body. These properties are things the company has used in the past to send a message to rivals and competitors. Nothing says fall in line like having your home burned to the ground by a screaming berserk lava monster. Our higher-ups did tell us not to keep too many fragments of Tekton in one place. There may be a chance that if enough pieces join back together again, the original Tekton will reform, and this time taking it down will be much harder, as the ones who have done so are happily retired and may not care enough to do it again. So currently we use the fragments as the fuel source for the thermal generators installed underneath the buildings we use for bases. So while we're still on the grid, all of our extra projects, research and development wise, draw from those generators instead of the grid, keeping our basic operations drawing a normal amount of electricity to the building. Because going completely off the grid and not drawing any electricity will also draw the attention of the agency, causing, yes, you guessed it, another raid. So let's do our best to avoid that scenario with a little common sense.